All right, Indiana defeats Ohio State 66-60 Saturday evening at Assembly Hall. I'm Jack Ankony with our Indiana Hoosiers on SI postgame reaction video, and this was quite the game. Indiana did not play well for long stretches in this one. Went into halftime trailing 29-25. In the first half, the offense really looked out of sorts. Indiana shot 30% from the field in the first half, 1 for 9 from three, 6 for 10 from the free throw line. Three different guys missed free throws in the first half. And still, it sort of felt like a 4-point deficit at halftime was really not all that bad given the circumstances. Ohio State wasn't playing particularly well either. So in a sense, Indiana, I think, was kind of fortunate to only be down by 4 and still have a chance in this one. Even in the second half, for a while, it was still not looking great for Indiana. Just looking at the score log here, Ohio State went up by 10 points. It was 46-36 with just over 12 minutes to play. And then Indiana goes on a little bit of an 8-0 run there to tie it up. But then Ohio State then immediately goes back on a run and gets the lead back up to 56-51 with 5 minutes left. So Indiana was down 5 with 5 minutes to go. Then immediately after that, they go on a 12-0 run. That starts with a Galloway three. Renew, Indiana was really pounding the ball inside to Renew there down the stretch. He made 4 free throws. And then the sequence that it really felt like Indiana sort of sealed the game was Ohio State's John Mobley dribbled the ball off his foot, and it rolled all the way from Ohio State's end of the court to just in front of Indiana's bench. And that created some confusion because then Indiana inbounded the ball to Trey Galloway, and he was sort of casually just dribbling the ball up the court, like took his time. And then once he got to around the 3-point line, he looks up at the shot clock, and it's already down to like 12 seconds or so. And him and Woodson are both pointing at the refs like, hey, they were both saying after the game that they thought it was a shot clock malfunction. It turns out that the rule actually is that if a loose ball goes out on your end of the floor, the shot clock just resets to 20. And you pretty much never see that exact situation because it's very rare that the ball flies all the way from one end of the court to the other and then goes out of bounds. But it's really pretty much the same rule as, like, say Galloway were to shoot a floater, it hit off the rim, and then the rebound get tipped out of bounds on that end. Then the shot clock just resets to 20. So it's the same thing as that. You just very rarely see the situation that Indiana had, where it's changing possession and the ball is going out on the other side. And I mean, Woodson and Galloway in the postgame were very candid about it. They were like, we didn't really know that rule. And I mean, usually when a coach or a player says that, you would be like, well, that's something you should know. But I really don't fault Woodson and Galloway a whole lot for that, because I don't know if I've ever seen that play. And I think, I posted on Twitter after, like, I think they got the shot clock incorrect there. And some people responded like, yeah, they did. There must have been some type of malfunction. But it turns out that that's just actually the rule. And you just almost never see that situation. So sort of in a moment of panic, Galloway just pulls up and drills probably about a 30-foot three. And that gives Indiana a 61-56 lead with 124 to play. And Luke Goody had a funny comment after. He was sort of like, it felt good that we finally got one of those to go in. Sort of referencing like past games, like you think of the game at Purdue when Trey Kaufman-Renn hit that really tough shot over Ballo, basically to win the game. Just over on Tuesday when Jackson Shellstad hit the 35-footer for Oregon. So it was sort of like, Indiana's turn, I guess, to get one of those shots to fall. And that was probably, the crowd at Assembly Hall was great today. It was a whiteout, packed senior day. I think that was probably the loudest I think Indiana Assembly Hall has gotten this season after Galloway hit that three. I mean, it was just absolutely crazy in the middle of a big run. Indiana keeps the momentum going. Then Goody hits a couple free throws. They get the defensive stops they need. Indiana held Ohio State to just 4 points in the last 5 minutes, so the defense was great down the stretch. Just to recap leading scorers, Trey Galloway's had 16 points, 6 for 15 shooting, so not his most efficient day, but hit 3 threes on 7 attempts, 6 assists. That's sort of what we've become used to seeing from Galloway is, he was good in that sort of pick and roll with Ballo again today. Ohio State didn't really have an answer for that. Renew was good, 16 points, 5 for 10 shooting, made all 6 of his free throws, which is big. Indiana actually finished 23 for 31 from the line, 74%. For a while there, it felt like, in the first half, they were 6 for 10. I think they might have started something like 3 for 6, or it was a game where it just felt like it wasn't, great free throw shooting, but the final number ends up being pretty good because they made their free throws down the stretch. Goody was 8 for 10, but four different guys missed free throws, and especially in the first half, it was sort of like, some groans and stuff from the crowd. But Indiana ends this one only shooting 35% from the field, 25% from 3. I think Luke Goody was sort of asked, does that almost give you guys confidence that you can sort of win ugly in a way? And he sort of just talked about the team's toughness and how they battled adversity a lot this year. Goody ended up with 11 points, only 1 for 7 from the field, but like I mentioned, the 8 free throws. Ballo in 24 minutes had 9 points. Kind of a quiet day for Mackenzie Mbako, 7 points, but made 5 of 8 free throws, missed both of his threes. Quiet day for Miles Rice, 3 points on 1 for 5 shooting. Anthony Leal, 4 points, 1 for 2. He played 35 minutes, though. Indiana really sort of rode with Leal, Goody, Galloway, and Mbako. All 4 of those guys played over 30 minutes, and then it sort of just kind of rotated between Ballo and Renew, although they did play a little bit together today. So a game that Indiana didn't particularly play, this is definitely not one of their better games, I would think, and I think they're fine admitting that because they got the win, and that's really all that matters. So Ohio State, Micah Parrish was good for them, 19 points, 6 for 11 shooting. Devin Royal had 13. Indiana did a good job, I thought, on Bruce Thornton defensively. He only had 9 points on 2 for 10. This one is big, this one I thought was good, just sort of to see Indiana seniors go out with a win. You think about guys like Leal and Galloway who've been in the program the longest, and even for Mike Woodson too. He's stepping down after the season, and he was asked about that because he had a quote on the CBS broadcast, basically saying, I'll pull it up. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said, maybe I'm leaving too soon. And he was asked about that after the game, and he goes, there's always going to be that thought, but at the end of the day, it's not about me right now. It's about this team and going up to Indianapolis and trying to win the Big Ten tournament. So, he didn't really want to talk about stuff besides the game, which you understand. But just for him and the seniors to go out with a win was a nice moment for those guys. And, they've really started to turn things around. It's Indiana's, I think, their 5th win in the last 7, I want to say. Sorry, it's their 4th win fifth in the last 8. 5th in the last 7. I was right first. And they really needed this one for the NCAA tournament. I think they were one of Joe Lunardi's last 4 going into this game. It might not have fully eliminated them if they lost, but they might have needed to win 3 games in the Big Ten tournament had they lost. So this one really helps Indiana solidify their tournament hopes. I still think if they were to lose in the first round of the Big Ten tournament, they might be a little bit nervous on Selection Sunday, or at least likely to play in the first 4. But I think if you can win a Big Ten tournament game, you lock yourself into an at-large bid and not one where you're playing in the first 4. I think maybe even if they do lose, they might still be all right to make it, but maybe playing in the first 4. We'll kind of have to see how other bubble teams and how many bid stealers there are from like the mid-major conferences and that. But this one was really big for Indiana to close out on a win and feel good about itself going into the Big Ten tournament. So Indiana will play, or I guess first they wrap up the regular season 19-12, 10-10 in Big Ten play. I think it's fair to say that they didn't live up to, they're picked second in the preseason Big Ten poll, ranked 17th in the country. So didn't live up to those expectations. But when the season was looking really down, I think you have to give this team credit for not giving up when their coach announced he was stepping down, and for fighting and for still making what they could out of this season. And that's looking like a tournament bid if they can, maybe win a game in the Big Ten tournament or maybe even sneak in without one. So I think you got to give Indiana credit from that perspective, where maybe they didn't reach the big picture expectations that they set themselves going into the year. But they were still able to, kind of end on a high note and still put themselves in a position to probably make the tournament. It looks like at this point. So Indiana will play Thursday. So Indiana locked up the number 9 seed. They're going to play Thursday at noon Eastern against Oregon in the Big Ten tournament. So a chance to get some revenge from that loss on Tuesday at Oregon. I think we'll wrap it up there. I've been Jack Ankony with our Indiana Hoosiers on SI postgame reaction video. We'll talk to you Thursday after Indiana's Big Ten tournament game against Oregon at Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. See you then.